Hello. I don't know if you can hear me. There we go. Yeah. So, welcome to Cut the Crap. Just thought I'd go live for a little bit today and cut some crap out. Let's get this little series going. I'll probably do this um maybe like once a month. I'm just like, basically they call it like harvesting images. Now that I know that like my camera's on and everything, I can sit and actually cut some stuff. So if you want to grab something to drink, maybe a blankie, if you want to cut some stuff out yourself while you're going, that's cool with me. My name is Andy. I am an artist. I reside currently in northern Minnesota. Um, I've been doing art for probably, I don't know, my whole life. I'm old. I don't know. I'm not that old, but yeah. So, yeah, I found a magazine while I was cleaning and got just a few that are specifically for this. Um, that just popped out to me like right away. And then I found this folder that had like a whole bunch of stuff that I had already like torn the pages out, but I was kind of looking through it. I was like, I don't even know what about some of these was sticking out to me. So that's what we're gonna do. Yeah. So um, this one here, I really like this spider one, so I'll go ahead and grab that. And when I'm doing this part, it doesn't really like to get the image, I'll probably get some words or whatever. I thought it was weird, like in this magazine, these two are from the same magazine, and I like both of them. This article was about using like VR to like get over phobias, I guess, or anxiety. And but later in the magazine, let's see, that's a family circle from 2017. It was talking about like um what this article is about, like hackers and stuff. And so I thought that like that was kind of interesting. Like on the one hand, they're like, oh yeah, technology is super cool, and then on the other hand, they're like, but also this. And I was thinking about like, if you had VR or whatever, and what if like, okay, so you were in like this VR therapy session, and somebody hacked your VR and was like putting like how nefarious that would that be? Like, I don't know, maybe it's just because it's like Scorpio season or something. I don't know. It seems like it would be like super nefarious to like hack somebody's VR just to like torture them for their therapy session. And they like, would they be like think that it was their therapist right away? Like, there's just so many like things with technology where stuff can go wrong, right? In that kind of a realm. And, if you're from my era, I call myself like mid-range millennial, and I'm kind of in the middle of that. It's like you knew how to do stuff and get around firewalls. Like, I remember there was this site that would let you around parental controls or whatever. They I visited one of my cousins at school, and I showed everybody this website to get around it so they could do whatever they wanted at school, right? But like it took them like 2 years, and my cousin like messaged me, and she's like, oh, they just said over the intercom like anybody using this site is gonna get in trouble or whatever. Like that is so funny. It took them so long to figure that out. So we have like this generation, like boomers or whatever, that, essentially most of them don't really have much of a clue how to use, you know, probably like I would say 70 to 80% of the technology we have available, right? And they don't know much of anything about security and things like that. Most of them, not just making kind of a blanket statement, but in general, that's not exactly their forte, right? They're more physical realm. They're not really virtual realm. They're not really into meta and stuff like that. But then I've been seeing some articles pop up lately about like different things about Gen Z. I really like this like black ice cream cone. It's so fun and yet dark. And innocent darkness, like spooky. But yeah, so Gen Z, they were talking about how like they know how to use all these apps and stuff, but they kind of don't know a lot of like how it works. That's what it was saying. Like they can use TikTok and stuff like that, but they don't really like on the back end of things. They don't know like the coding parts of it. Like if you're in the MySpace era, you're super into MySpace, you might know HTML, be able to figure out some things that way. And a lot of people were like they're in the millennial generation, probably Gen X too, or like the um, the tech support for their family, so it's like, and with like the internet probably doesn't go out hardly, well, I've noticed anyway for myself, it hardly goes out as much as it used to. It used to be like, and you call and then you gotta check your pings and do the driver and all this stuff, and that's like, would the average Gen Z person, there's nothing against any of y'all, I think y'all are awesome, but like, would you generally know like even where to find like a driver? And like a lot of people in that generation don't even really use like actual computer that much. They probably use like saying how they mostly use their phones. A lot of people use their phone for, I think this is something I think that Michelle from Michelle's Healing Home was talking about. A lot of people use their phone just like for business all the time. They don't really so it's like how many people really know the hardware and software world anymore? Is it getting to be less of a thing now? Like, did it go through this peak time? I think that's like really interesting to think about, like kind of the implications of that. Um, but yeah, and there is a lot of stuff like with the you know, what was it, a few months ago, August, September, somewhere in there, where they were doing all those hearings about like privacy and stuff. And I really think about like, not to sound like super like, I don't know, if you're in like the truther community or whatever, like, I guess anywhere kind of makes fun of like, if you listen to Alex Jones, but I think that's kind of like like riding riding a bike or whatever. Like you probably listen to that at some point if you're like a truther. I went through like a little phase of that, like when he first was like getting kind of big, whatever. But how he had his channel is like Infowars. Like, I think it really is like Infowars. Like we've been in a war probably, and they're just not telling us. And now they're trying to make it like, you know, like there's this other war going on or whatever, like a physical war. That's like all part, like it's all connected, right? It's like we've got China makes our phones, makes most of the world's phones probably, right? And that has some security concerns. I don't really think a lot of Americans think about that, like Western society people. Maybe like I don't travel a whole lot, but maybe people in other countries are a little bit more keen to it than we are. And there's some things that it's a little bit more concerning to have somebody spying on you about. And then like with the whole social credit score thing, like I'm not really for that either. So I just thought it was interesting how those two articles kind of juxtaposed. Like, yeah, technology is cool. Don't get me wrong. I love being on here. I love meeting people on here. I like a lot of things about it. It's nice to be able to connect to people, but at the same time, it's the privacy issues are really kind of out of hand at this point. I don't really know what my point is, but so for the rest of these, I think I'm just gonna like go through, try to discern what was sticking out to me. I think I really like these two bunnies here. It says that they're from Mindy Schumacher. I'm gonna block print. They'll probably be really fun and some kind of collage. To totally pivot away from my technology. That's another thing too. Like I like digital artists and like AI art is that's kind of weird. I don't know if like there's this one like I don't know, you wouldn't really call it a meme because it's not really a meme, but it's like a text post and it's like wasn't really expecting the robots to be like making art, writing poetry while I still go to work or whatever. That's kind of how I feel about that. And there's something about like hand done art, traditional art, where it's just so different than like digital art. And digital art, like you still use your hands and stuff, right? But like AI art, it's kind of like, like the whole writer's strike with the Hollywood and everything. Like I totally understand. It's like, and I don't really think I would watch something written by AI. Like, you know what I mean? Or read something. Might read like an article or something just for like to be like, what does this robot think people write like? And I always go back to like the first robot citizen in Dubai, and that's it's just there's so many questions to be asked that I feel like a lot of the time with these types of things, it's like somebody just saw like, oh, that would be cool, or that would make us more money, and then they didn't really think about, how things would go with that. You know what I mean? So, if you're in the chat, I cannot see the chat because I'm using my phone and my back camera. So hello, if you're in the chat, nice to see you. I'll check it out. I'll pop in before I leave. Um, but yeah, thanks for coming. If there's anybody in there, I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking and cutting. It's kind of part of my art process, I guess. And so yeah, back to the whole. I don't think robots are necessarily bad, like on the whole. But like it's with like the same thing with anything. It's like how are you using them? Like I already think that like artists and writers, anybody that's doing it for like a bigger company probably doesn't get paid enough. Or like there's very many chances to be taken advantage of, especially if you're younger. And I just feel like that's something that maybe we shouldn't try and save money on or take advantage of people for. And then it brings in like a whole lot of questions like, can a robot gain a soul? And how does that work? And so many other things. I've been talking with my friend Tina. We've been having kind of this ongoing conversation over the past few months about, like, are they already among us, so to speak? Because, there's videos that go around. And I kind of shared with her. I worked with this gal, and this was a while ago. And I was like, she has got to be some kind of like a prototype robot, right? Like, just, I don't even really know how to describe it. It's just like the behavior was so bizarre. It's like I don't see any, and it wasn't even like, some people say that people on the spectrum can sometimes seem kind of robotic or whatever. It wasn't even like that. 'Cause it's like I know a lot of people on the spectrum. It was just something about her seemed not human. Very nice lady. I mean, if she's not a robot, she seemed very nice. Nothing against her or anything. And I hope she like wouldn't take offense to that. It's just, if you are not a robot, but people think that you are, you probably are aware already that you're a little different than everybody else. So that was my thoughts on that. And they had that sports team. I don't know. I don't follow sports very like hard, but um, they had like a bunch of robot fans in the stands. Like what's going on there? And how much tax? And then I get this is where I start to get kind of mad about it because it's like how much taxpayer money? Like if I'm going to work, I pay tax on everything that I buy and my house and driving my car and having a license plate on my car. All these taxes that we have, right? Little tax for every little thing. And how much of that money, because I know, at least in Minnesota, there's been increase in certain kinds of taxes to help pay for like the Vikings stadium, for example. Now, the Vikings are a privately owned team. I don't really understand why the public should be paying for something like that. And I don't really think that if the public is paying for fake fans to be in stands that they paid for, they would be very happy to learn about that. So, I mean, I'm not happy really even just thinking about it, but that could be one thing that's going on in the world that we just don't know about. And, there's all kinds of write-offs or whatever for that type of thing. And they'll put it under any, and yet at the same time, you got regular citizens, actual humans with actual souls that need to like eat and sleep, struggling in life, and either, not to be Debbie Downer about things, but like that's kind of stuff that goes on and it's like, okay, well, not really into that. Look at this colander. I don't know if I'll ever use it. I might throw it in like a little collage kit for somebody. Because what's one thing about robots? They don't gotta eat. I don't know if they like really have, like, do they just charge? How long does it take to charge a robot? How much energy goes into charging a robot? And then they got this whole thing of like, oh, be energy efficient and the grid can't handle all this stuff, which pretty much use the least amount of electricity as I possibly can. Anyway, so fun little thing. Maybe I could make a blackout thing of that. But yeah, it's kind of my thoughts on taxes and technology and bigger businesses and I guess big tech and sports and art and all kinds of stuff. Get this. Take out of this one. I like these beet cookies. These are really good. Really good for you. I don't know. Maybe I'll just do like, instead of cutting out each individual one, I'll just kind of go around them. And that's kind of why, this is, I guess, this is kind of like my first one on YouTube, so be a little bit different than as we go forward, but I don't really want to talk about my thought process for making my art too much, because that's one of the things that they're mining, right? They're mining people's thought processes so that they can use it for AI, so that they can use it for things like Chat GPT and all that. What is it, Mid Journey or whatever, to make our try to figure out how to how to learn how to be a human. It's like, don't we do enough of that? Can't we learn how to be humans as humans before we try to like freaking make machines be humans? There's humans out there, they don't know how to be a decent human being. You know? But yet we can get a robot to be a decent human being, right? So that's, you know, kind of dangerous. It seems like dangerous territory to me to be kind of giving too much away of what goes on in your brain. And there's many different ways besides just technology that people can kind of get into that. Um, there is like remote viewing, things like that. And then, you know, what if a robot, I mean, they kind of already have that, like with like a AI remote viewing kind of a thing, where it's, you know, this is kind of cool. Yeah, like the colors together. Um, you know, like Google Maps and stuff like that. It's almost kind of like a remote viewing, but not, right? Like it is, but it isn't. Like it's a lot of the time it'll be like an old pictures of, of places. So I guess it's good we're not to that point yet. But things things to think about. Let's see what else we got here. Maybe we'll find a good. Oh, here's some fun plaid. I don't know if I feel like getting into that. I don't know. Some of these, I just have no idea why they were standing out to me. So I'll just keep them in here and I'll go through them again. Maybe it will make sense at some point. I like this tea with the little old lady candies. Love me. Those are some good candies. I think about all this stuff and like how the where the future is going. And I think about the people that I've known that have passed away. And kind of like, well, what would they think of this or that or whatever. All right. And I think that's part of why I have this. I keep going back to wanting to be a death doula. Um, I think that people leave at the right time for them to leave, and that's kind of my. It's okay to mourn that they're not here anymore. They're always with you. That's cool. You can always talk to them, like they're there. But I think about that, and I think that some of the people that I have known, that is part of why they choose to go before this time. I mean, I don't really see some of them being too happy with the way things are going. And feel they've lived a full life, so it's okay to let them transcend onto the next plane of existence. Escape this nonsense of constantly being taxed. I like this. I think I liked these milks. I'll do a couple more and then I'll probably be done. But so like this is very 50s-ish. And I have a lot of thoughts about that time period as well, because it's kind of like, well, you have to look at the past a bit. You can't just forget it ever happened. And I think there's a lot of stuff that went on during that time that contributes to a lot of what we would consider to be problems in this era. And I'm looking at it through the perspective of zooming way out on a timeline. It is kind of the same mentality with some of those things as what is happening with technology now. And the technology then was just emerging, kind of, but we still had psychology. We still had getting very into chemistry. And so think about some of the chemicals we've been using since that time period. Some of the products that came out of that time period. And where we are at now with them, which is bleach is a big thing. And that can contribute to the breakdown of your mucous membranes. But we still use it. It's still good. I mean, it has some practical use. I don't say that it's completely bad. I do think that there is a lot more natural ways to take care of things. We also had this kind of like, I've seen this reel on Instagram saying how kind of the 30s and 40s is where they kind of like invented teenagers. And as like an advertising thing, right? Like, oh, you're a teen. This is what teens wear. That's a time when you really should be, kind of figuring out who you are, kind of developing your morals, whatever, just psychologically speaking, what they say, and finding out where you're different from your parents or your authority figures. You have a lot of different chemical type things going on in your body. So by the time we get to the 50s, then we say, oh, well, you want to buy these things, then you should have an after-school job or a summer job. And so these kids throughout the 50s and the 70s, into the 80s and 90s, a lot of the time they would be able to pay for a car and sometimes even a house with their after-school job money. Now we're at a point where the adults can't afford to buy those things with a full-time job. And that's the money magic that goes on in the world. So it's funny how so looking at an image for a couple of seconds can spark a lot of thoughts. I don't want to keep them together. I want them to be separate. I'm divorcing these milks. You know how you marry ketchups when you're like a server? I'm divorcing these milks. I would like it like in the world. And obviously I'm not anybody. But it would be nice if we could take some time as a general population or society to just kind of think about where we're going, what we've learned. Just take a second to breathe and think about it. I think a lot of the time we get moving a little bit too quickly. It's nice to slow down and think about stuff. Reflect. I don't think there's a lot of reflection going on with the powers that be, so to speak, the powers that are to have passed eventually. Eventually we'll get to the point where they won't, these people, they think they're, oh, my name goes down in history, blah, blah, blah. I need to make a legacy for myself. I need to establish this and that. There's a far better legacy in doing the right thing and taking the time to think about the right thing than there is in just doing whatever to have as much as possible. I don't know if you've ever seen hoarders, but sometimes there's such a thing as too much stuff. It doesn't matter how nice quality stuff you have, it's just still too much. Before I start talking too much, I think I'm gonna call it a day on that, and thanks for joining me and listening to my rambling. I hope maybe you were inspired to look some stuff up. Give some shout outs to people in the chat real quick. It's like Jenny G. It's hanging out. That's all I see right now. But thanks for joining me, Jenny, and whoever else is in here. Have a good day. Subscribe if you want. You can find me on Instagram. It's the same name if you're watching this like later and you don't already subscribe to me there or follow me, whatever the fuck they call it, you can do that. It's my same name, but with a dot in the middle. Okay. Have a good one, everybody. Love y'all.